Good evening, and welcome to the Halloween episode of Late Night Baltimore. Tonight, we will delve into the very scary world of ghosts and goblins and witches and real scary monsters like Frankenstein and Dracula and the Mummy. Well, you see now, it all began a long time ago in a place called Transylvania. And at the town meeting, there arrived three terrifying beings. The first was the Mummy, who had traveled all the way from Egypt to rise out of the grave and the crypt, and took a ferry across the way, and then traipsed all the way up to Transylvania, not needing any toilet paper, as he had an abundance of it wrapped around him. He arrived in Transylvania and set up a little yurt on the side of town. Outside of town, as the years passed, he became a thriving member of the city, a denizen, as it were. He started to make friends, and one of the friends he was Frankenstein, the constable of the city, a very tall man, all green, with a black shirt and a green coat, and with screws on the side of his head. And one day, Frankenstein and the Mummy were sitting around. They were downing a few beers, some Eastern European homecraft beers, you see. And they were having a good old time when they decided to give a call to their old friend who only comes out at night. His name was Dracula. And he was a count, a very famous count. And he was a vampire, a scary vampire who could turn into a bat. Well, the three decided that there wasn't much going on in Transylvania this weekend, so they wanted to take a little trip through time, through the dark times, and in America. They wanted to go to the Salem witch trials. And so they boarded a haunted pirate ship, and they took it all the way across the Atlantic into the cold, cold seas they went. And there were lots of squalls and waves, and they were very scared on that route. And they looked over and they saw a ghost ship. It was the ghost of the Titanic. Yes. And they saw that woman, and she had that jewel, and it was a-floating. And they passed that, and they went on, and they landed in New York. And when they arrived, they decided to get something to eat. And where do you go when you're in New York and you've just arrived and you're from out of town? You don't want to try a restaurant which would be pricey and not set for out-of-town tourists. So what you do is you try a tried and true pizza place. Now they ordered a pizza, but they became very particular about the toppings they wanted. The three of them could never agree on anything. The only thing they could agree is that the Count could not eat garlic for some reason. They weren't quite sure why. Anyways, they go, and they had that pizza. And they were heading down into Times Square, you see, after midnight. They wanted to see a show, or maybe stop in somewhere and get a cold beer and hobnob with the locals. But the locals were frightened of them and went inside, and there was no place for them to get admittance to, so they decided they may as well continue on their journey. And they got into a damned bus, and they headed up to Massachusetts, you see. And when they landed when they got to Massachusetts, they got out of the damned Greyhound. And they got into an argument. The mummy was angry that he was forced to sit next to a stranger while the other two got to sit next to each other, and why was that fair? Well, they said they apologized, and when they go home, they'll make it much more fair. They'll switch it around. They'll do it something random. But the mummy won't have to sit next to someone on the way back. So they get to walking, and they get to walking down to the courthouse. And it's a long time in the history, for it's the Salem witch trials time. And I haven't done the research to know exactly what year that would be. But they went into the courthouse, and they got a lucky ticket for admittance, all three of them. He told them that they were with media. And that seemed to be all right. Anyway, the trial began. It was the trial of the century, but it was a very slow century since it was like the 1600s. So the three of them went depressed. And Frankenstein said, "There's no way this jury will convict. No way. Over there, I noticed a woman, a suburban housewife, with kids gone. There's no way she's going to rule against these witches." And Dracula said, "Why do you always have to ruin everything, throwing in your opinions and your logic? We were coming here to sit down, to watch this trial. We were going to have a good time, the three of us, for once. And there you have to go, throwing your opinions, which might as well be a spoiler. You ruined the whole damn thing, and it was going to be a nice evening for the three of us." And the mummy said, "Now let's not continue or fight you all. We don't know how things are going to turn out." And then Dracula said, "Yes, I know. I know how things are going to turn out. This is old puritanical America, where they had all kinds of superstitions against witches. Well, the trials went on, and as it were, it was a hung jury. All 12 juries went to the gallows. Get it? A hung jury. They all went to the gallows and hung until they died. And then their ghosts came out. And Frankenstein, Dracula, and the mummy thought, well, it would be a good time to get an interesting backstory and what they are actually thinking. And then they really enjoyed the company of the hung jury, the ghost, as it were. And they decided that all 12 of them, plus the 3 of Transylvanian people, would charter a bus and go into New England to watch the fall foliage. Foliage? Very scary, watching that man, Nathaniel Hawthorne, was it were, watching the Headless Horseman up there somewhere in New England too. I'm not sure where. They saw him, they visited him. And of course the mummy said, he sure has lost his head on this one. And they all said, chastised the mummy for the joke, because it was an old joke and not very well told. A dad joke, as it were. But they did enjoy the scenic route, and they had to admit, you sure can't do better than New England in the fall for a good fall foliage ride. Foliage, no one knows how to pronounce that word. Anyways, they took the 12 ghosts and they dropped them off back at Salem to haunt Salem forever. And then they took a Greyhound all the way to New York City, and having traveled that far with the Greyhound, they decided to adopt the dog and take the man back with them. And they got on the pirate ship down by the docks, you see, and they took their trip back to Transylvania. And they decided that it would be best for Frankenstein to have the dog, for he was in a bit of a better financial position to afford such a creature. And that is how things ended. They all had a good time on their journey in the haunted trip of Halloween. And that ends our episode. And we hope you enjoyed it as little as I enjoyed telling it. And now, go out into the dark, scary night, everyone. And we hope you enjoyed this episode of Late Night Haunted Baltimore.